What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we got a commitment from one of the top transfer prospects in the country in Kerr Krissa, and he committed to play for Bob Huggins and the West Virginia Mountaineers. Now, I am a West Virginia fan, and I'm really excited about this pickup, and I hope it leads to more to come here soon. But Kerr Krissa commits to play for West Virginia University next season. He still has 2 years of eligibility remaining, and a lot of people thought that he would go play for Xavier because that was the coach that recruited him there at Arizona is Sean Miller. He was now back at Xavier. So a lot of people penciled it in, 24/7 Sports. I think a lot of people were going by what they said about him going to Xavier, and I was kind of buying into that myself until a couple of weeks ago whenever he made his official visits as a transfer. He only went to two schools, and that was West Virginia and Nebraska. So he didn't even go to Xavier to visit. So I knew it was down to those teams, and me as a biased West Virginia fan, I was saying, okay, he's going to pick us over Nebraska, and I was right. Now, what does Kerr Krissa bring to the table for the Mountaineers? Well, he brings a lot of shooting and a lot of playmaking, but he does not bring a lot of defense. Now, comparing him to who he will be replacing in Kedrian Johnson, the fifth-year senior from last season who graduated, will not be returning, doesn't have any more eligibility. Kerr Krissa will be stepping into that role as the starting point guard. So to compare the two, Kedrian Johnson last season averaged 11 points per game, 3 assists per game, and 2 steals per game. Kerr Krissa, as I mentioned, 10 points, 5 assists, and only half a steal per game. So he provides a little bit more playmaking than a guy like Kedrian Johnson. He can see the court, he has really good court vision. He also brings some shooting. He can shoot it off the catch, sometimes off the dribble. Really good shooter. Hopefully he can improve defensively because Kedrian Johnson, like I mentioned, 2 steals per game. Kerr Krissa is not going to provide that. And as a West Virginia fan and as West Virginia fans, we expect our guards to be able to provide defense. I mean, going down the line, Javon Carter, Daxter Miles Jr., Kedrian Johnson, those are our last 3 point guards that we've had on the squad. We're used to having a defensive point guard. Kerr Krissa is not going to be that, but that playmaking is something that does excite me as a fan. Now let's take a look at my projected starting lineup, my way too early projected starting lineup for the West Virginia Mountaineers next season. So at point guard, I have either Kerr Krissa or Joe Toussaint. And I know I mentioned earlier that Kerr Krissa would be stepping into that role as the starting point guard, but I'm not completely sold that he will be a for sure starter on this team. I think it is between Kerr Krissa and Joe Toussaint. I do believe there will be a battle there because Joe is an amazing player, one of my favorite players from last year's team, and he is going to battle for that spot, and he does provide the defense that is typically played by a West Virginia point guard. So don't count Joe Toussaint out there at the point guard position. One of those two will be the starting point guard for this team next year. At the shooting guard position, I have Seth Wilson. I think that he is the guy to replace Eric Stevenson next year as our go-to scorer and an elite three-point shooter. He showed all the signs last year. It is time to make Seth Wilson the starting shooting guard. He can step right into that Eric Stevenson role. I know he can. At the small forward position, I do have Jose Perez listed as a guard. Let's run a little bit of small ball here this year. Last year we had 2 forwards starting with Emmett Matthews Jr. and Trey Mitchell. Let's put Jose Perez in there at the small forward position. I think that he could play that really, really well. Really good defender. He's a guy who can score in the mid-range, in the high post as a pretty tall guard. So I am really excited to see Jose Perez, the transfer from Manhattan, who did not get to play the second end of the last season, even though he was on the team, but gets a full year of eligibility this year. Really excited for Jose. At the power forward position, I do have Trey Mitchell, same starter as last year, and really the only same starter that I have here for the West Virginia Mountaineers from last season. He is the only one who started last year who will be starting this year in my projected lineup. And then at the center position, I do have James Okonkwo. I mean, this guy can be an elite paint protector in college basketball, an elite shot blocker, and I cannot wait to see him play his junior year. He is going to be a monster, and I believe that he should start over Jimmy Bell and over Muhammad Wagi, but you could really say any of those three could earn the starting job by next year. And at the six-man position, I have either Joe Toussaint or Kerr Krissa. I mean, whoever is not starting is still going to play a ton of minutes for this basketball team next year, and they won't just be in out for each other. They will be swapping in and will be on the court together at times as well. So that will be really fun to see, and it would not surprise me if Kerr Krissa gets the starting point guard position and Joe Toussaint is the sixth man for the Mountaineers, just like he was last season. Overall, I think this is a really good pickup for West Virginia. It picks up a player that brings something to the table that we did not have on this team before we picked him up, and that is the playmaking, and you could always use some more three-point shooting as well. Bob Huggins is showing that he is adjusting to the new age college basketball way, which is getting players through college basketball free agency, aka the transfer portal. So it's really good to see as a fan that Bob Huggins, even though he is, an old coach, an old school kind of coach, he can adjust and adapt to the new school way of college basketball. But that is going to do it for this video. Let me know if you guys want to see more videos of big time commitments from the transfer portal or from recruiting. I can make those videos. We can go over any team. It doesn't just have to be the West Virginia Mountaineers. We can go over any team that gets a commitment, go over their projected starting lineup, and just talk about whether I think it is a good pickup or not. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about this pickup. Is it a good fit, Kerr Krissa to the Mountaineers? Like I said, not really the typical point guard WVU has on the team, but let me know what you guys think. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.